All right. Well, welcome to the next edition of What Else Is New podcast. And on this edition, I'm actually going to interview Ralph Rabago. So Ralph's with us, and it's a little bit different with us this week is we actually have in front of a live studio audience. So we're actually in the third day of an alumni camp with about 14 students here that have been with us many, many times. And so it's great. I wanted to do this in front of a live studio audience. So Ralph, you get to be a little extra nervous this time.
Okay,
so yeah,
thanks.
Right.
Appreciate that.
Well, I'm going to introduce Ralph. So for those that aren't seeing this live or aren't watching this in video, this is Ralph Rabago. Ralph's with us for how many years now, Ralph?
I guess I started about 2020.
Yeah, 2020. Okay. And Ralph is actually, I always call him the West Coast guy. So he's out actually in Phoenix, California, doing schools out there. But Ralph is one of our master instructors, does schools out in the West Coast, takes care of us in Phoenix, and reviews videos daily, and has a lot of people in the level 3, level 4 students. So mainly level 4. But I want Ralph to give a little history about what he's done in the past, because he's affectionately known as the professor with Graves Golf. So he's known as the professor, and it's become endearing to us because I loved Ralph giving talks. So give us a little about your history, Ralph. What have you done?
Well, as far as the idea from an academic standpoint, I was fortunate enough to actually, my last semester as an undergraduate, I actually was able to get into a head coaching position at a local 4-year institution. So I've been coaching and teaching at a college or university. Oh gosh, I was trying to figure out last night, actually, about 44 years.
44 years.
Yeah.
And coaching and teaching what?
Just about everything. From activity classes, mostly in tennis, golf, pickleball.
Okay.
Did basketball, volleyball, did weight training. Did all
athletic movements, this is why I want to talk to Ralph, because he's not just a golf guy. In fact, and I promise most of you in this room don't know this, and those that listen at home don't know this, and we're going to go there.
Yeah.
Ralph is a much, much more accomplished pickleball player. Am I right, Ralph? Okay. He's not going to brag about himself. Okay. But he's actually a national champion in certain areas of pickleball. In fact, one of my students who has become a pretty good pickleball player, and she's done this for years now, met Ralph, and I said, he's a pretty good pickleball player. She goes, oh, really? How good is he? And he looked him up on the rankings, and she called me up and she freaked out. She's like, you don't realize how high this guy's ranked. This is crazy. And I was like, really? And he goes, and she started sending me pictures of you and championships you had won. I'm like, really? And you never even talked about it to us. It's like pretty crazy. Yeah, this guy is like championship pickleball. But let's talk about golf. Let's talk about the guys in this room, about training, about practice. And when you teach schools with us, I love to have you get up in the morning, and there's a little talk you give, and I want you to give it now, about simple versus easy. Okay. Ralph gets up and he talks about something being simple versus something being easy, because you guys and a lot of people have gotten into our methodology because they say it's a simpler system. They think it's easier on the body. They think it's more simple. It's not as complicated as the full swing, as a normal conventional swing, if you want to say that. I want you to talk a little bit about simple versus easy.
The thing that I always want to try to impress upon the students at that point is the idea that simple and easy are not the same thing. The concept of something being simple means it's more repeatable. There's less moving parts, so you have a better chance of being successful. But you still need the self-discipline, the work effort, all of those processes that we have to go through to learn anything from a physical standpoint. So the way I love the way you say it basically is that it's easier on your body, and it's a simpler process how to hit the ball. And those are two separate things. You can't interchange those as you go through.
And so why do you give that talk? So why do you talk about this a lot? Because and it's great. And literally we'll have students that we've never seen before, we've never met before, or they haven't seen them in years. And you're constantly reminding them of this. Why? Why is that?
There's so many people that want to think that there's going to be an easy answer for their questions and what they want. There is no quick fix, no matter what system you're in. So to have the expectation of knowing what I have to go through in order to achieve improvement is an important process of what you do in any sport.
And that's what I want to talk about for a second here, because this is why I bring you up and I love to have you talk, is because obviously when Todd and I do this, it's golf. But you spent your life teaching pickleball, teaching tennis, teaching golf, probably bowling. Am I right?
Yeah.
I mean, athletic movements. Am I right? At a college. Okay. Similarities. I mean, there's got 1,000 of them, isn't there? So talk about the similarities. I don't care if you're learning bowling, if you learn tennis, you learn pickleball. Give some, those at home or those sitting in here, give some what you say the professors, basically not quick fixes, but what are your tips to help them get through the process?
There's so many things that people need to understand. And that one is you need to be able to know from a cognitive standpoint what you're supposed to do. So once you have a model, once you understand what you're trying to do, then you have a chance to be able to work on that. Biggest challenge that people have is they think if I know it between my ears, I'm going to be able to perform it.
Right.
Those are two completely different things. So the ability to go through an appropriate training process so that your body can start to learn is the biggest challenge, because we all tend to want to think our way through it. And in any sport, the movement that we use happens too quickly and your mind cannot work that fast. So it's really important that you understand the difference between when you're training something from our standpoint, from a position standpoint, versus when you're in a performance standpoint and you're in a competitive or wanting to perform it.
So if you're learning a position standpoint, so you're trying to learn, like we talk about position 1, position 2, position 3, and so on. What's the best way? If I was going to you right now, someone I called you on the phone and said, okay, Ralph, I'm getting frustrated. I can't figure this out. What's the best way to learn those positions? So give me the advice, because you got 15 people in here listening to you, but we got hundreds of people at home listening to this. Okay. And they're in, and they want that advice from you. They want the advice from the professor. Yeah. What's the best way to learn those positions?
The best way is to where in the ideal world, this room would be full of mirrors, just like a Tai Chi studio, dance studio, something along that line. Video is great to work. There's no question about it. Spend a lot of time on video. However, that's not real time. I have to go look at it. Okay. So if I have a mirror and I can go slowly, and we always talk about how slow is slow, it's 10 times slower than you think. So think of a full swing of a golf swing taking 1 minute. That's slow. So you're going to understand how your body feels. You're going to hold positions so that certain things start at appropriate time rather than just kind of doing what feels natural to you. Because the biggest challenge we always have is people always want to be comfortable, but it's really important that you're willing to work through that uncomfortableness of doing something different. Because if you're doing the same thing, you're going to get the same results.
Love it.
So the slowing down, the stopping and holding positions, that's going to be the fastest way. Not only will your body learn it faster from a kinesthetic standpoint, you will actually develop strength in those positions as well.
Which is very interesting, because every time I interview you guys, it always brings up stories here, but I guess I've been doing this long enough that I get stories. And it reminded me of a story. I haven't given the story in a long time. I was here at the academy. This is probably 20 years ago. And I had a student come in here, and he's a younger guy. He's probably in his mid-30s. Okay, and he came in here and he never played golf before. And he came in here and he said, I want to learn the golf swing. I've watched a little bit what you guys do. I think it's really cool. I love the position work. And so the first day I took him in here, I said, okay, well, here's your setup and here's position 1. And I started working that. And the second day I showed him position 2, position 3. Okay. And this was like a week or 2 into it. A month into it, and I worked with him every single week. A month into it, he comes into the academy here. And I'm out there watching him hit a few balls in the range. And I mean, it's pure. I mean, he's pure. And I'm looking at this guy, and I remember like a month before, he had told me he'd never played golf before. And I grabbed one of my instructors, his name was Joe Newpel at the time. And I said, Joe, look out here, this guy hitting golf balls. He looks at the guy and I goes, how long do you think he's been playing golf? Joe goes, oh, his whole life. And I go, I think this guy's been lying to me. I think he's got me set up here. Maybe this is going to be like one of those spoofs, you know what I'm saying? Like, whatever it is. And he goes, because there's no way that's 1 month's worth of golf. And Joe goes, there's no way. There's no way. So Joe brought the gentleman in here in the bay next to us, and I brought him in, and now I'm going to I'm looking for the camera set up, like the candid camera. I'm like, okay, this is a joke. And I said, I've never seen improvement like this. I said, this is insane. And he goes, number one, Tim, he goes, I don't own a golf club. I don't own any golf clubs. And I said, what? He goes, only time I hit golf balls here. I said, what do you do? He goes, I own 3 martial arts studios in Oklahoma City because I've just built my 3rd in Edmond. And he goes, all I've been doing is taking my karate bow. And he goes, I'm a 7th degree black belt in this form of karate. I don't know anything about it. And he goes, when I go away from here, I get in my dojo, my studio, and I just work on these positions. And he goes, I work on 15, 20 minutes, take a break, work 15, 20 minutes, take a break. And I go, describe how I work it. And that's why it reminded me of, he goes, I have mirrors that surround me, and I can see a down the line view, a face-on view, a face-on view. He goes, I haven't got mirrors on the roof. He goes, I can see every view there is. He goes, so I watch your video. I listen to what you say. I come in, I'm matching the spot by looking at these mirrors. And it was crazy. And I'm like, holy crap. I was like, this is, no one would believe this. So immediately took that bay next to us. We put it in the front. We put a mirror. We started filling mirrors in there. He goes, my work is all mirror work. It's exactly what you're saying. Yep. So it's the first thing he said. He goes, you would notice what he said. This is the guy who does more video reviews probably than anybody. I mean, him and Matt, they're reviewing videos all day long. This is what they do. Okay. What did he say? Putting mirrors up. Because that's real time. What he said. That's huge.
I mean, that's for you.
Right.
I mean, if you don't get the feedback, you don't know what to fix. It's not going to happen immediately enough. So the more you get the sense that you are able to make corrections as quick as possible, the better off you're going to be. I always tell a story. One of my deans was asking me about a grant that they wanted to write if I had any opinion. And I said, yeah, I would love to get Schick. And some of you of the age that remember the old Schick company that tried to change behaviors by basically a little bit of shock therapy. And I always thought, we don't have to go shock, but maybe vibration, where if something's wrong, you get reminded right away. They didn't think that would work real well in the California community college system. But the idea was I wanted to get them feedback as soon as possible.
I love it. I love it. So here's the next one. So, and then we'll ask if there's any questions in the room here. I've heard you say this lately. I've heard you say it a lot, but it's one of those things I've kind of picked up on lately. You keep talking about the difference between practice and training. Mm-hmm. And you say, okay, there's a form of practice, there's a form of training. There's a form of practice, there's a form of training. You say, and you'll get out there literally now and say, there's a specific difference between practice and training. What's the difference?
When you are training for something, you have a particular goal. You have performance in mind. You have probably a competition in mind. There's a very specific reason. Practice can get a little loosey-goosey sometimes. I always like to use the examples. Some of you may remember back when Allen Iverson made the comment because he got fined. Man, it was just practice.
Right.
Just practice. And as a coach, that statement bothered me more than anything else. I was a Division II, Division III coach. So yes, I recruited, but we didn't get the horses like a Division I.
Oh, right.
If you missed a day of training,
right,
you're falling behind.
Right.
And when, versus, is it okay if I miss practice? I've got a test. So it's just a different way of looking at it and how important it is for you to be consistent in your training, because without the consistency, you're not going to get the results that you want. It's like starting over every time. And that goes for anything. You guys here in the room have been super successful in whatever you've done. You've been willing to do, depending on how you like to hear it. If you're like me, I like hearing it. I have to be willing to do what unsuccessful people aren't willing to do. Because I've always responded well to when they say, I can't do it, I'm going to do it. Now, if another way more positively to say the same thing is you have to be willing to do what successful people do. Same, it's just depending on which way you like to hear it, right? And what's going to motivate you in the best way.
And that always leads to think, how do you see what successful people do? Because I do know, and it's one of the recommendations I give to golfers. I say, get yourself uncomfortable. Go play with golfers that are better than you. A lot of people have a difficult time going out and teaming up with people that are better than them. They'll sit there, I'm embarrassed, and I don't want to slow up the group, or they make excuses. Number one, you'll start just mimicking what they're doing. You'll start mimicking their motions, their reactions, the way they are. They've become successful for a reason. And I always tell golfers, you want to get better faster, get in a group of better players. And just go and deal with it. Give you a little secret. Better players are never going to be offended you're playing with them. As long as you play fast and you just keep up with them, they do not care. I've never played in a pro-am. I played with guys that couldn't break 200. If they're fast, we're good. You follow me here? But It's really cool how much when you play with better players, how much you'll pick up on it. It really is interesting.
Well, how much improvement do you see in a college kid that comes into a good program and now all of a sudden he's around it all the time?
100%.
It's not something that he has to focus on himself. That's the expectation when he signs up, so to speak. So the idea is when you get involved with a program like that, your game's going to go up tremendously. Unfortunately, we don't have the opportunity as adults, that environment, but you can create that environment on your own by choosing who you hang around with.
100%. Okay, so last thing in this, we have questions here, but the last thing, and you may have already covered this, but you do video work every day. You do level 4. You have, in fact, there's guys in this room that you see videos every week. I mean, you and Matt and the guys, you guys get dozens of videos every single day that you review and you analyze, you're sending out. Okay. If you could give general advice, I know this is that it's that general, okay, blah, blah, blah. But if you could give that general advice to help people right now, just in general, what would that be? What would it be? Just to improve faster, to be more effective in the improvement, to actually start seeing some dramatic change. What would that be?
Number one is to not be afraid to send in an imperfect video.
There you go. I love that.
People are always afraid. In fact, you'll hear things like, well, yeah, I took 10 and this is my best one.
Right.
That's not what we want to see. We actually want to see just your swing. Okay. So that's one. Okay. 2, one of the things I always ask my guys to do and gals is to be sure that before you go through your repetitions and your training, confirm with me through video that you're doing it correctly. Right. Because the last thing I want you doing is more repetitions the wrong way.
Right.
And that's probably the hardest thing for people to do because that's just a quick one.
Right.
I'm going to look at, that's right. Do it. Keep an eye on that. Be sure to monitor this.
Right.
Then have a regular scheduled time that you're going to decide when you're going to send the next one.
Yeah.
I always ask for, give me 2 or 3 days and I want to see another one.
Right.
Some people do, some people don't. You can encourage them, but we can't force them into that. But we do try to remind them.
I think it's huge because I've put myself in a couple of training programs lately for different things. And the ones that have been really effective are one that send me a calendar reminder. The one who's like, this is due in the next 24 hours. This is due. Because if not, human nature is like, oh, put it off. I got other things that came up. I'm traveling now. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
When that reminder pops up, I'm sitting there. I've got to figure out a way to do it. Because it's only hurting myself.
Yep,
I love that. I love it. All right. So is there any questions in here? You guys got any comments in here? If not, we're going to be dead silent. We'll just turn off the camera. Are we good? You guys any questions in here? Anything for the professor? Well, so the question is, I'm going to have Ralph talk about this for a second about practicing without a golf ball and how effective it is if it works for you, which is very interesting though, because we'll see how fast this podcast goes out, but I can be real biased here. The Thunder, by the way, are going to win the championship. Okay. We're going to pray for that. Okay. But SGA is our stud. And if you watch SGA when he gets to the foul line, what's he do every single time? He gets to the foul line and he gets back there. And before they hand him the basketball, he takes one free throw with his hand. He does another one with his hand. And he'll do the first one. He's just mimic it with no ball. He'll just mimic it. And if they throw him the ball before he does the second one, he'll just lay on the floor and he'll do a second one. That's his little routine. Before they picks up the ball, he shoots a free throw. But how many times in his life do you guys think he's literally done that move right there with his hand? And by the way, he's going to be the MVP this year of the league for sure. But he's done that with his hand, just like this. He does it every time he shoots a free throw twice. So next time when you watch him in the championship against the Celtics, okay, but when you watch him in there, watch every time he gets a free throw line, do it twice. And it's the same thing. It's doing the drill without the ball. So talk about that for a second. How important is that for these guys to do drills without golf?
That's the only opportunity that you have to actually consciously think about what your body's doing while you're making a golf swing. because a golf swing happens too quick once there's a ball. Okay. So, call them rehearsals. You're trying to go through the positions. We're always trying to go through that process. And, in other sports, we call it making a shadow stroke, where you just work against a mirror again. One of the times I was in the process of learning tennis, I had a kid watch me and I was doing some shadow work. Gosh, your shadow works exactly like how you hit the ball. Well, go figure. That's how it's supposed to be. That's your opportunity to ingrain it so that when you do put a ball there, you can focus on the appropriate things, which isn't mechanics. All of a sudden, we talk about here the idea that, when there's a ball there, I don't care if you've been working on your mechanics and slow, you put a ball down, you have to change your focus. Your focus has to go to the concept, again, of tension, tempo, and balance. And if you're trying to mechanically control your body while there's a ball, you're doing the wrong thing at the wrong time. You're doing an apple and it's an orange, unfortunately, at that point. It doesn't match. Which
is very interesting. So, I'll give my last story here because you guys know this is about Ralph, not the stories, but we had a student that came into our school. I mean, she'd probably be listening to this because she's a big fan of ours and we love her to death, but her name's Geraldine Britz. And you can look up Geraldine Britz. Geraldine Britz is the 1979 U.S. Open champion, LPGA. And she came to our school. She came and sat at a 5-day camp. She's actually been to numerous schools now. She's been to short game schools. She's been to a few camps. And we love Geraldine. She's from Minnesota. But Geraldine is one of the most accomplished golfers we've ever taught. Obviously, she's a major champion. You're not going to get much more accomplished than that. Okay. And we had her in the first time we taught her. We had her in the second bay, just doing like we do in normal 5-day camps. And she's in there and we're working on her swing. And we're in there and she's actually working on hitting a hybrid. And Todd's teaching her and I'm in there with her and we're working on this and we're working on hitting hybrids and so on and hitting other working her swing. And she gets up over top of a golf ball and there's about 3 or 4 guys in there watching her train, watching her practice or train. And she gets up over and she takes like 3 practice swings. Okay. Just 3 practice swings. And she's asking us, is this right? Is that right? She's basically working on position 2. And is this right? Is this right? And then without hesitation, she basically steps into the golf ball and she hits the golf ball and she never looks up. But instead of looking up and seeing the golf ball fly, she turned back to Todd and goes, was that good position? And 2 of the guys in there, I'll never forget this, freaked out. Because they're like, you don't care where that ball went? She goes, absolutely not. I'm working on my swing. I'm working on the ball flight. And I sat there and all I could think in my mind is that's why she's a US Open champion. Because she's figured this out. She's not this incredible athlete. She's not fine, but she is between the ears. She's figured this thing out. And you watch her practice. And this was a lady who got there and she still does it to this day. I mean, she's probably listening to this and she's probably embarrassed from hearing this, but she'll take 20 practice swings before she hits the ball. She'll sit there and she'll do it so slow. Guys, this is a major champion. This is the creme de la creme. This is what 99% of golfers will dream of. You guys follow me in this? And she's out there practicing right now and she'll take 20 practice swings before she even hits a golf ball. And she does it so slow and slow methodically. And she's like, now she'll go up and she'll go hit the shot. And when I told you guys, go hit a shot, don't turn your head and don't watch it, it'll freak you guys out. She does it in practice without even telling her. But it's crazy. But it's the way, what you just talked about there. It's about that training, whether it's crazy, but that's how she's gotten to that level. And you can watch it. And it's not just this her and that's in this sport. You see that with all athletes. I mean, am I right?
I mean, there's no question about it, is that if you're not willing to disregard your immediate outcomes, you're never really going to improve. Right. Because when you're doing something different, you can't really expect quality outcomes right away.
100%.
And if that's not something you're able to let go, you are going to be stuck on a plateau.
Right.
There's no question about
it. Right. Realize shot results are not right. Yeah. We have the old saying. Yep. So, okay. So guys, shot results when you first start looking at the ball, when you're making changes in the contour, not going to be good. You guys that follow me here, realize shot results are not self-worth. That's the truth. You guys got to do what? You've got to constantly work on training and work on without a golf ball, with the golf ball, and you got one down there, don't care about the flight. It's a hard thing to do. I think it's the hardest thing to do.
It's the discipline to be able to do that.
Right.
Can you do that?
Right. But that's how you speed up the process. You do that and you slow it down, as you said, that's how you speed up the process. And there's no doubt about it. No doubt about it.
And then the one other thing would be, once you put that ball down, then be able to control yourself so that you are able to focus on the appropriate thing. Be in the correct present, which means if there's a ball there, I'm thinking about performance things. I'm thinking about my tension, my tempo, and my balance. I'm not thinking mechanics at that point.
Right. Love it. Any other questions in here? Great question. Are we good? All right. Well, I think we do our time. Well, I appreciate it, Ralph. Appreciate it joining us today.
Thanks for
always have the professor, and the guys are really lucky to have you in town this week. That's great. So James took off early, but that was a good thing for us.
It's great being here.
I appreciate it. Thanks, Ralph. Appreciate it.